This is the CBS Evening News. Dan Rather reporting. Good evening. Nelson Mandela got a rousing welcome from the city of New York today as he began a 10-day tour across the United States. The former longtime political prisoner will address Congress and the United Nations, and he'll be received at the White House. This is the high point of Mandela's world trip, seeking money and political support for the fight against apartheid in South Africa. With a mixture of triumph and humility, Mandela arrived at John F. Kennedy Airport. To be greeted by hugs and handshakes and promises of help.
We must continue the use of sanctions and every other reasonable and effective device we can find until apartheid is only a terrible memory.
Mandela was pleased, urging the leaders to keep up sanctions against South Africa and bringing a message of hope.
Today we can say with confidence that we can see the light at the end of the tunnel.
On the drive through one of the poorest sections of Brooklyn and later at a high school, it was clear that Mandela is a hero to millions in America, too. And it was clear that he was having a good time.
Quite a big crowd.
But that was nothing compared to the throngs of people who waited hours in the financial district for the traditional welcome New York gives heroes, a ticker tape parade. The first since the Mets won the World Series in 1986. Security for the visit is intense. The New York Police Department built a special Mandela mobile, bullet and rocket resistant. 12,000 police were on duty at a cost of $2 million in overtime, the tab picked up by the U.S. State Department. At New York City Hall, Mandela received the key to the city and gave a promise.
Apartheid is doomed. South Africa shall be free.
For many of the tens of thousands who came out to see Mandela today, it was a long-awaited, deeply emotional moment. Harold Dow has the story of some who were faces in the crowd.
To see Mandela, huh?
There was joy in the Joseph household this morning.
You excited? To see him up close, to be able to feel his presence, his aura, will be a dream come true for me.
Okay, let's go, okay? I feel that I know him. I know that I love him.
For Jamal and Joyce Joseph, the visit of Nelson Mandela to the United States was a moment in history they wanted their sons to see.
It's important for them to see a living legend. It's important for them to know that I saw this man, this great man, this hero.
Cheetah and Simon Hasten, brother and sister who were born in South Africa, are also eager to see Nelson Mandela. To them, he represents the future of the country they left behind 15 years ago.
It's the first time in all the time that I've been in America that I've actually just felt wonderfully proud of a South African.
I regard it as almost a miracle that a person of his kind has arrived on the scene and made it possible for the two sides to talk to each other.
Two families, each waiting to get a glimpse of the man who has profoundly touched their lives in different ways.
What Nelson had gone through gave me strength each and every day.
Jamal Joseph was first arrested at age 15. He later served almost 6 years in Fort Leavenworth prison for harboring a fugitive for what he says were his political activities as a Black Panther. He identifies with Nelson Mandela.
That Nelson Mandela would come here shows that there is a connection and that there is one struggle. What we're talking about is a global struggle for human rights and equality.
Joyce Joseph had a bright future as a model, but she gave it all up to keep the family together while her husband was in prison. The Josephs named their second son Jad Mandela.
We feel like Nelson Mandela is an elder in our family. We feel like he's our father or our grandfather.
You want to stand up, maybe? It's a great day for South Africans. Nelson Mandela's being out in the world and being seen for what he is.
The Haysons never could accept the system of apartheid in South Africa. For them, Nelson Mandela represents a new beginning.
I think all over South Africans are just galvanized by the sense that there's hope again.
If you could speak to Nelson Mandela, what would you say?
Please take care of your health, because we're going to need you around for a long, long time.
Thank you for surviving, for being here, and for caring enough to come to be close to us.
I just pray that my sons grow up to be like you.
Harold Dow, CBS News, New York.
With pressure building, Nelson Mandela went to the United Nations today to thank the world body for its efforts against apartheid in South Africa. Mandela called the system of white minority domination a, quote, indelible blight on human history.
It will forever remain an accusation and a challenge to all men and women of conscience that it took as long as it has before all of us stood up to say, enough is enough.
Mandela again today underscored his solidarity with what he calls other liberation movements, including the Palestine Liberation Organization. Under some close questioning here in the U.S., Mandela has stuck by his support for the PLO's Yasser Arafat, as well as Cuba's Fidel Castro and Libya's Muammar Gaddafi. Mandela saying, and I quote, "Our attitude is based solely on the fact that they fully support the anti-apartheid struggle," unquote. U.S. officials said today they do not expect this to be a major issue when Mandela meets next week with President Bush. The Commerce Department today